The calls to improve school safety have been met with a lot of skepticism on the other side of the aisle, with many feeling that Texas has already had enough special committees and provided enough funding to police. And what needs to happen now is actual gun reform.
Yeah, it's a feeling that the Texas State Teachers Association shares. Last week, they released a statement saying simply, quote, "We don't need more committees on school safety. Instead, the Uvalde victims' families and all Texans need more gun reform." Joining us now this morning to discuss how educators are feeling in light of the Uvalde school shooting and our elected officials' response, the president of the Texas State Teachers Association, Ovidia Molina. Ovidia, good morning to you. Thank you so much for being with us on the show. Of course, so many educators across the state of Texas are just simply still processing what happened 2 weeks ago. For you, how are you dealing with it as an educator, as somebody who works with teachers across Texas and their students?
I can tell you that it's been very difficult. Hearing how our educators are very hurt, scared. They have so much that they have to do on a day-to-day basis, and to be reminded that their lives are in danger when they show up to work, when they show up to love their children, when they show up to do for their community, and to have our governor come back and say that we should have done more, because that's what all this rhetoric is saying, that we should have been more prepared, that we should have done more, is simply ridiculous. Instead of attacking us and telling us to do more, our governor needs to do more himself. He needs to make sure that we are safe, that people that are dangerous don't have access to guns. He needs to support our public schools and help us keep our students safe.
Ovidia, you released a statement last week that called the governor's response to the shooting and calling for more committees to study school safety a weak response. You still with that? Why did you say that, and what needs to be done to make a stronger effort from him and all Republicans on that side, to be honest?
We need action. We don't need conversations. We had conversations after the Santa Fe shooting. We had conversations after the El Paso shooting. We've had plenty of conversations. We want to make sure that we have actions, that we actually do something. This committee that he's trying to come up with is going to have conversations. We've had conversations. Why don't we look at the conversations we've had? And he loves to say that everything's going to be on the table, but gun reform is not on the table for the governor. And that's one of the main issues. We have people from every side, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, you name it, that are asking for action. They can't see 19 children being murdered and 2 dedicated educators, and nothing happen again. We're outraged, we're tired, we want action, and if he's not willing to do it, we need somebody that will.
And of course, teachers across the state of Texas, really the entire nation, already dealing with so much stress, so much pressure, so much anxiety amid the pandemic, amid calls for, what is being taught curriculum-wise in the classroom, potentially banning CRT, so many different elements and factors being put on our state educators. And then you factor in the responsibility factor of saying, well, teachers need to be in charge of safety in the classrooms. Maybe we need to arm teachers. How much does that add to the stress and anxiety of teachers in Texas? The conversation of being prepared for a potential mass shooting, and then also just having to respond to calls that maybe teachers in the classroom should be armed themselves.
It goes to show how much disconnect there is between our state level representatives, elected officials, and what happens in education. As an educator, our jobs are to make sure that we are having relationships with our children, to make sure that they are thriving, that they are wanting to come to school, that they are loving to coming to school. I don't know if me packing a weapon and them knowing that I'm armed is going to make our connection that much easier to do. The other thing is that as an educator, my desk is going to be overrun. And where am I going to keep my weapon? Where is it going to be safe when I'm not using it? How am I going to have access if it's in a safe location when something happens and I need to use it? If I need to use it, how am I going to be able to shoot at somebody? And in many cases, these attackers have been former students that maybe I had a connection with. How, as a person that has not been trained to kill, am I going to be trying to shoot an attacker, trying to make sure that I take care of my students, trying to make sure that all this chaos around, when, as we've seen, people that have been trained can't do it all the time. It's ridiculous for him to say that any educator needs to be armed. And we're talking about, what if the attack is on the bus? What if the attack is in the hallway? Are we going to put guns in everybody's hands? Why are we putting more guns in our schools? Why are we making them seem like prisons? Why are we making them unsafe and reminding our students that they're unsafe? Help us from the outside. That's what we're asking for. We want our schools to be fun. We want them to be loving. We don't want them to be scary places for our students.